Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for this video I'm going to be continuing the modeling of this TV remote, and this is the point we want to end up with. What I have here is three separate parts. Let me just show you using a section view. So I've got I'll scroll up. I've got three solid bodies. I've got a top, a bottom, and it doesn't seem to be showing. Anyways, that's my keypad. That'll be the top and that'll be the bottom. I'm going to just scroll back to where I thought we were last time, why I know we were last time, which is roughly around here. Not quite. Let's go one more. Okay, so that's as far as we've gotten. So I need to go step by step just to show you how to finish off this model. We'll go up to the point of cutting out the holes for the keypad, and then I'll do the keypad in the last video. So in class, what I'd suggested is that you create the split and then you put the drafts in second. But in fact, it's a much better idea to put the drafts in before you put the split in, just because it's easier and you'll get it right easier. So I'm not going to explain exactly why that works right now, but just trust me. So I'm going to use the draft command. Now, the moment you choose draft command, it should default, Solidworks will default to a neutral plane. And what Solidworks is looking for is a flat plane, either a front or a top construction plane, or some other plane which does something similar. So I'm going to select the top plane. That's just saying put the draft perpendicular to that direction. Okay, so that's normal to, perpendicular to, and then faces to draft. You would choose which faces you wanted to draft. Now, I'm not going to use neutral plane because we want to use the parting line. That's because my parting line is irregular. It's not some flat plane. So that end there is higher or lower than that end. Or if it isn't, if I wanted to draft across these lines, I could as well. So let me just show you how that works. Currently, you can see that this little arrow is pointing upwards, which means that that's the direction that it's going to draft to. So depending, it's going to go from that line. So if I select that line, you'll see that there's another little arrow here, a little yellow arrow, showing that that face is going to be the one that's going to be drafted. Now I could select more of these faces. You'll see as I do so, more arrows appear showing you which face is being selected. You can select the other face. You have to go back to each one of these edge selections to change them if you want to change all of them. We don't need any of these for now. I'm just showing you how that works. So we need that end and this end for now, and those are both facing upwards. And I've got a 9-degree taper. I need about a 4 or 5. That should be good enough. And once you've got that, so make sure that all three arrows are facing upwards for the top draft. And if we go to that view there, you can see those tapers in place. Okay, so let's do that again. Draft. And this time I'm going to, it'll default back to your last command, parting line. Directional pull will be the top again. So now it's going to pull this upwards, which is not correct. So let me just show you how this works. So that's going to face, it's going to select the same face, which I wanted to go in the opposite direction. So I wanted to select this bottom face. And on this side, the same thing. I wanted to select the bottom face. And if I do this now with an exaggerated draft, it's going to make these come out instead of going in. See that? See, that's the wrong direction. So just so that you know, if you need to fix that, just change the direction. So you can see this arrow is pointing down as, watch this, those arrows are now pointing in the wrong direction again. So I need to just change them so all three face downwards. And there we go. Okay, we've done it. All right, now the next step is to put the fillets in, and the rule is go from your largest fillets to your smallest, and that's because, as I explained in class, which I'm not going to explain here, you want the fillets to flow across certain directions across tangents. So I'm going to select these two first because these are going to be kind of guiding where the other fillets go, and at the moment it's at 1. I want it to be nice and large, about 12. All right, and then I would like the next fillet to flow along this line all the way along there and end over there on both sides. And then the smallest fillet on this body is going to go in that direction. Remember, you can get a directionality to this, and that's what we want. So select this. If I say fillet, you'll see it's because it's got tangent propagation on. If I switch that off, in this case it's not working, but sometimes if you leave tangent propagation off, it'll only select one curve, but because it can't do anything other than what it's doing, it's going to cut all the way across. Now it's going to cut across that edge there in a continuous fashion. So if I drop this down, which is what I want to do, to say about 3, because it's hard to explain this, but because that continuation of the fillet is now broken, I now have to reselect this line so that I get it to continue across that line instead of going in one continuous direction. So I'm going to do the same on this side. Just be careful not to select a face. So it's very easy to do that. Let's just show you. I could select a face. That's going to give me those sharp edges. We don't want that. Make sure that you delete that. Select just the edge. I'm going to have to reselect this edge just to get a continuation. And I'm going to say OK. All right, so don't worry about this at the moment. There's a graphical error of some sort going on. If you are worried, you can check that you have a solid model, just a section view. If it shows a solid surface, a solid kind of section view, you know you're okay. Okay, so we don't need that. So that's just an error in the way it's presented. All right, so the next fillet I want is this one here, which is going to accentuate in this direction here, the U, because I'm going to make this fillet smaller. Now, remember, hold on a minute. So actually what I've forgotten to do is to actually split this body. So I'm going to go back before the fillets, and then what we should have done first is put the split in. So split is not the same as split line. Split line just divides a face into 2 surfaces, whereas split splits the whole body. Normally in Solidworks, what you can do is if you've got a sketch in another place that you want to use again, you can use it. For the split command, you can't. So I want that sketch. I want to use it again. So I'm going to have to duplicate that sketch. So the way I'm going to do that is go to my front view, put a sketch in place, and then come across to this sketch and just show it so that I can now select these 3 lines and use the convert entities button at the top here, and that's converted it. Okay, so since I know that the split tool corresponds with the split line, I can use that sketch again. So I'm just going to hide this one for now. So I've only got that one there available to me. All right, so let's show you how to use the split tool. So select the split tool. It'll ask you what you want to do. Do you want to create an assembly? You say OK. Then it says at the top here, the blue block always shows you what to do next. Wants a trim tool. So it's either a surface or in this case it could be the sketch. So I've selected the sketch. It says OK. And just be a little bit cognizant here. You don't have to be careful, but just note if you say consume cut bodies, once you do this, everything's going to disappear. So we're going to say no, don't consume cut bodies. If you do leave it on and everything just disappears, come back into this command and deselect this. The next thing you need to do is say cut bodies. So at the moment it's saying which bodies do you want. Well, there's only one body here. So we're going to say all bodies, cut bodies, and that'll immediately cut this into 2 parts. So there's my body 1 at the bottom is lower, and that's going to be the upper. I'm going to name those such later. And we still aren't finished because SolidWorks wants to know, well, which of these bodies do you want to keep? So under the little arrow, little scissor, you can either select that, it'll select them both, or you can select them one by one. Either way, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same result. Say OK. I mean, if I did select that one, I'd only get one body, but I want them both. So let's go with that. You get another dialog box saying, do you want parts? You say OK. and we've got two parts. Let me show that to you. So I'm going to hide that sketch just so that it's out of the way. And have a look at the top here. I've got, under solid bodies, I've got two bodies. Now in class, I think I'd shown you that your surface bodies might not show. The way to get that to work. So I'm going to go back to that in a minute, but let me just show you this. If you right click under your file name, which you've obviously filled in correctly, and you go to hidden tree items and say hide show tree items, that'll take you into the options feature manager button, and under surface bodies this might be showing hide. Just make sure it says automatic and say OK. That allows you to show or hide all of the surface bodies, or you can go one by one. All right, so back to the solid bodies. Let's just collapse that. I'm going to rename these by slow clicking inside. So you select the body and then you slow click inside here. That slow click is click and pull away. And this will be my lower, so you've got to watch what it highlights. And this one here will be my upper. So the reason you've got to watch that is because these might be in a different order. So lower might be, well, as you see, lower is actually above upper. I think you can move these around. No, you can't. All right, so that's as far as we've got as far as bodies go. So I'm going to just reintroduce my fillets. There we go, those two there. And then let's do this second fillet. So at the moment I've got two bodies. Let me just show you. You can actually hide one of them. So we're actually working on two separate bodies here. I'll leave them both visible. Right, so the next fillet is this one here, which I'm going to make a lot smaller than that one because we want to avoid, especially for this exercise, any three-sided cap to a fillet. So that's three-sided. That means that little point there is a singularity. I don't want that. I want to make sure, I want to know that you know how to avoid that. It doesn't look good. It's difficult to machine. There are all sorts of problems with it. So you should try and avoid it as much as possible. You can't always avoid it, but you should, for this exercise, for me, avoid it. So you can see from this that I now have a four-sided cap. That means that I've got two sort of curves, an inner and an outer. I'm going to select this other end here. It's going to do the same thing. Say OK. There we go. Okay, so that's fillets on the bottom face. And now let's do the same for the top, sort of bottom half. And so this fillet must echo that fillet, in that it must be the same size because they're going to meet at a parting line. So my computer's getting laggy for some reason. Those four, all right. And then the top face, since I don't want to have to select all of the edges, I can just select this whole face and say fillet. And I'm going to give that a nice sharp fillet once again because one, we don't want a three-sided cap. And two, because we want this to be nice and sharp, just because it looks better, in my opinion. Okay, so there we go. We've got two complete bodies, and now we can shell them. This is going to be fun. So I'm going to hide one of these. So let's hide the upper first. So hide that one, so that I've got the lower available to me. So now we're going to go to the shell command, which is under features, shell. And in my instructions, I've said don't make this thicker than 1.3. So I'm going to make mine 1.2. Then you can select which faces to remove. So these three here I want to remove. And I say OK. And there we go. We've got a shelled body. Hide this one. Show the upper. Do the same in reverse. Shell. This will default back to your last command. So we're going to leave it at 1.2, and we're going to shell, and there we go. We've got two shelled bodies. Excellent. Okay, so let's just show those. All right, so the last thing I'll do for this video is just punch the holes out for the keypad, and then I'll deal with the keypad in the next video. Okay, so let's go to the top plane and put a sketch in. And here I'm just going to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. So I'm going to come in this direction. This is the front. Let's go normal 2 again. And so the first thing I want is the center line going from my origin horizontally outwards. And then I'd like a circle. Also, let's go to that point. And I'm going to locate it on this line. So I'm going to select, so let it be coincident to that line. Let's make this about 30. I'll make 30.5. I think that'll work. Okay, so this has got one position in that it is coincident with that line, which means it's also going to be coincident with the origin. All right, so it just needs another position. Remember, you always need 2 positions. Let's make that 45. And there we go. The sketch goes black, so it's fully controllable. And the next thing I would like is a center point arc slot. So there are 4 different slots here. There's a straight slot, a center point straight slot, 3-point arc. You can figure these out for yourself, but we want the center point arc slot. The center point arc slot allows me to select the center of some object. So this might not work. Let's just see. That seems to be working. That is actually working. That's great. Okay, so if it doesn't work, what you can do is just drag this line back to that point. Oh, sorry, that's not going to be the problem. The problem is going to be when we pattern this. Forgive me. So it's going to be quite easy to select that. I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to eyeball this for now. Okay, so that's going to give me a slot all the way around. So I'm going to have to drag this. So if it gives you that, just drag it in the opposite direction. Wow, something like that. Drag this out. Don't worry too much about any of the dimensions for now. It's just going to ignore you. So that's roughly where I want it to be. I would like that point to be coincident with this line, which will mean that, let's make that midpoint. Is that right? Yeah. That means that if I put in a dimension across here, that's going to be equidistant. So you can see that now I can change this by just pulling this in and out. Okay, so let's make that about 6. Should be right. Let's make this about 2.2, which will be 4.4. Might be a bit big. It's fine, let's leave it. And then the last thing I want to do is just give that pitch circle dimension. That's what it's called, a pitch circle. I want to give that a dimension which controls the distance of this thing outwards. So let's make that about 24. You can see that's going to push this item out. All right, so I've got everything under control now. I can pattern this. So the patterning, you need to watch a bit. There's a few tricky bits, or there's one tricky bit at the beginning, and then one other thing you need to watch out for. So if I select circular sketch pattern in the drop down, it's going to ask me right at the beginning for a center point. And this is where it could get tricky, in that if I try and select this center point of that circle, watch what happens. It defaults to the origin. Okay, so that's where I'm going to delete this. I'm going to exit, and I'm just going to drag this line. Is it that one? It is that one. I'm not sure why that's deleted. Seems to have lost its bearing somewhere. Because that's a center point. Okay, so I need to get rid of that. And drag this down so that snaps to that bit. Okay, so here I need to re-establish this as being coincident, not center point, with that line. There we go. All right, so now it should be a lot easier to go with this circular sketch pattern. It's going to ask me what is the point you want to start from. I can select that point. You can see it's selected it. It doesn't show it, but it has. And then you can ignore all the rest for now. You just need to go to the bottom, entities to pattern. It's going to default to 4. That's this spacing here. And it's going to default to 360 degrees. You can change this if you want, but we won't deal with any of that for now. So leave it at 360. Forget about all of this. You only have to worry about this one here. We want about 11 instances. So whatever you choose, make sure that they have spaces between them. So I've got 11, which gives me 12 in total, but I only want 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So if you select this drop down at the bottom and you click inside the box so that it goes blue, you can now deselect each one of these by just clicking on the points of the ones you don't want. So those are the ones I want. It's difficult to see, but there are 2 yellows at the top and 2 yellows at the, 2 yellows above and 2 yellows below. If I say OK, there's my fully defined sketch. And I can exit this. And then I can just use that sketch to cut with. So I can select the sketch. Let's just go find that sketch. Can either select the sketch as a whole and say cut. So extruded cut, it's under features. It's going to want to cut downwards. What I did in class is I selected upwards, forgetting that that top plane is tangent to this, to the top of this curve. So it needs to go in the opposite direction. And as long as it's linked to thickness, it'll only cut through the top body. What you could do, if you wanted to cut through all of them, you could say all bodies, and then you could actually get this going through all of them. I don't think it'll do it now. It'll only do it in one. Yeah, but you could go through all of them, but I don't want to go through all of them. So let's just show you. That should be selected bodies, auto select, so that it only selects the top body. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is just put a sort of a chamfer in here just to get this modeling to be a bit more finished. So select that edge, say chamfer. This will default to angle distance, so that gives me a distance and an angle. I'd like to control it a bit more, so I'm going to say distance, distance, and then this will default to symmetric. I'm going to make it asymmetric. And here you need to play a bit. So what I do here is enter in like 2 low figures, say 1 and 2, and just see which direction that gives me. At the moment that's going upright. I want it to go in the opposite direction, so I'm going to swap these 2 around, 2 and 1, and then see 2 is maybe a bit, I want to increase that. Let's go 2.5, maybe even bigger. But I think I'm going to leave it as it is. And then this is too deep, so it needs to be 0.3 or something. Let's see what happens when we do that. There we go. That's looking good. So I can now increase this if I want, just by clicking inside the feature, saying, well, let's make that a little bit wider. 3. Perfect. Okay, so you definitely don't want the chamfer to interfere with this fillet. That's difficult to tool, and it's just bad modeling. Don't do it. All right, and that's it. So I've got 2 parts here. I'm going to say Control Save, and then I'll show you how to put the keypad in as a separate entity in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.